Hey, this is A12, your coach of the Arkham City Delibirds with draft analysis for my team of the NBA Season 7. So now then, first pick, I picked Diggersby. I picked Diggersby because I think it's by far the best mod in the format with access to a diverse amount of coverage and offensive sets, which make it nearly impossible to prep against and forces people to run a more offensive and fast team, since it alone will just sweep someone if they decide to bring a more defensive or slow team, just due to the raw power of its band set. Its return can even two-shot a max health, max defense Hippowdon, and Hippowdon is massively bulky. Also, it can take out massive defensive threats like Skarmory with access to things like Fire Punch and Wild Charge. So, reason why I picked this is that since it forces people to go more, forces them to go more defensive, go more offensive. It allows me more freedom in terms of what I can draft later on. So my second pick, I went Gengar. I want some speed, and Gengar has decent speed and some pretty diverse sets. And it's, in my opinion, one of the more underrated mons in the format because it can wall break with taunt set and be a revenge killer at the same time. The only reason why I didn't rank this in my top 10 video was because it's pursuit weakness and it's a little bit slower than Thunderous Eye, which means Thunderous Eye outclasses it a little bit, but since Thunderous Eye wasn't available at in the second round, I decided to go with the next best thing, which is Gengar. So my third pick, I decided to go Amongus. Amongus is by far one of the better mixed walls in the game, and it has access to Regenerator, which makes it one of the better pivots in the game. It also has access to Spore, which gears people into running Safety Goggle Mons, and any Mon which by itself can limit the type of items your opponent brings against you is absolutely amazing. I tried to draft a team which kind of limited what my opponent could bring against me in terms of team building wise, and by doing that, it makes it very easy for me to kind of predict what's going to come, which makes it very easy for me to team build. So with the fourth pick, I drafted one of my biggest staples, Manabuzz. I absolutely love Manabuzz. It's another good mixed defensive wall, kind of like Mungus, and it has access to a stab foul play, which means that if you set up physically against it, you're gonna have a bad time. Which this kind of patches up my kind of setup fodder weakness, which is kind of seen in some of my later picks. So the next pick I go for, well, talking about setup fodder rounds, I go for a pretty big one, which is Blissy. Now, Blissy is an amazing cleric, and if you go Manabuzz, which I did, you need a good cleric, and there's no better one than Blissy. It's very one-dimensional, but it does have access to some interesting moves like Ice Beam and Flamethrower, which makes it interesting. And it also has access to Calm Mind, which lets it beat certain things that you usually beat it, like a Nasty Pot Thunderous Eye. So now, with my sixth pick, which is probably my most controversial, I picked Mega Sharpedo. While I can't abuse Speed Boost due to it being forced to Mega first turn, Mega Sharpedo is still in an amazing speed tier in base 105 and has access to some pretty diverse sets, which I'm not going to reveal now, but I'll just leave it at it does get Destiny Bond, which will come one week. It can go mix with its pretty decent 110 special attack, and water dark typing is pretty good offensively, but the main reason why I wanted this was because Strong Jaws lets this thing hit like an absolute truck with Crunch. The combination of Strong Jaws and Stab make Crunch a base 160 power move, and that coming off a base 140 attack is very impressive and very scary. It also has priority in Aqua Jet, and all in all is one of the more underrated UU Megas, and I want to prove this season that it can be a threat and should not be slept on. Now, with the seventh pick, I go something kind of weird. I go Mola, and I mean, Mola, it might be kind of setup fodder, and it's kind of sub fodder, because I mean it doesn't hit hard at all. But this thing is the physically bulky version of Blissy with access to base 165 health and 80 defense. And also, in my RU picks, I tried to pick mons that kind of complement certain of my parts of my team well, and Mola does this very well because it creates a regenerated core with Amongus, and it creates a water grass core with it in Amongus. So that's pretty good. I also decided to draft this is because it walls a certain threat that otherwise just completely clean sweeps my my wall core, and for that reason, I thought it was worth getting RU1 is because I knew that this mon was going to go early, and I needed to guarantee it. So, with my ace pick, I go Spiritomb. Spiritomb is interesting. I'll leave it at that. It's not the greatest mon. It has a mediocre Calm Mind Rest Talk set, but pretty much the only reason why I drafted this is because it hard counters Mega Medicham, which otherwise completely destroys my wall core. Once again, in RU, I'm picking mons that's for specific matchups, and obviously will not come every week, but when they come, they will be very important. Now, with my 9th pick, I go Girder. With this pick, I truly didn't really know what I wanted. I knew that I wanted a bulky fighting type, because I mean Tyranitar gives my team some issues. So I figured the two best ones available are Hariyama and Girder, and I didn't really know what else I wanted to pick RU3, so I decided to go Girder because it has slightly better stats and some interesting tools like it has access to Guts, Iron Fist, and Sheer Force, all three of which I plan on using sometime this season. Plus, it's a pretty good pivot with like I think it's like 60, 80, 100-ish defenses. Or no, it's 60, 80, 50 defenses, but in combination with Eviolite, that's actually pretty good. So anyways, with my 10th pick, I pick Metang. Okay, I know that Metang is not the best mon on you. It's not the best mon even PU. But this mon does one specific role that I need it for, which is counter Mega Gardevoir hard. I mean, my team is so weak to it. Blissy loses to its taunt and calm mindset. My entire core just goes down. My team isn't exactly the fastest, and my fast mons can't really kill certain variants. Like, I don't think Zebstrika obviously can't. Well, Zebstrika I draft later, but yeah, that can't. Spoiler alert. So anyways, also Metang has access to some interesting tools, and I actually use it a lot when I ladder PU, which isn't often, but I do sometimes. And it's one of the better just kind of... Now, this mon, like, it never really does much, but it just kind of... It's one of those mons which you don't know why it's good, but whenever you use it, you just win. So I figured, I mean, why not just draft an NBA, give it a chance? So that's what I did. So with my 11th pick, I picked Zebstrika, which I mentioned before. Now Zebstrika I picked for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. Base 116 speed and access to Volt Switch. And electric stab. Now, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. There's nothing else to say. I mean, it's a good revenge killer, the base 116 speed. It's the cheapest fast Volt Switcher that has more than electric coverage. Like, it gets fire coverage, it gets fighting coverage, it gets a couple of interesting moves, which I might use later, but I'm not going to say in this video. So anyways, that's why I drafted Zebstrika. It's also one of my favorite mons to use League. I've actually swept people with this mon before in playoffs. So it's a mon that if you're playing someone who doesn't have a ground type, this thing can be absolutely dominant. Like, even if they have a resist to it, this will just Volt Switch on it and gain momentum. Now, with my final pick, I picked Ninetales. Okay, Ninetales is not great. I know this. I only drafted it is because of Flashfire, and I am absolutely terrified of Victini. It has some decent like setup sets, like it gets Nasty Plot, it gets Calm Mind. It has some mediocre like defensive sets. It has good defense. I think it has like 100 special defense, and it has access to Will-O-Wisp. But this mon obviously isn't going to come often. It's only going to come to very select few matches. But I'm going to be glad that I have it when it comes, is because it beats certain things my current team is weak to, and it actually counter teams other teams very well. And in NU picks, I'm trying to pick mons that, I mean, I know they aren't going to come every week. That's why I'm picking them NU. But when they come, I'll absolutely need them. And Ninetales, I feel, is a mon that whenever it comes, it's going to be necessary, and it's going to do something specific my team is weak to already. For example, my team is weak to like certain special attacking fire types. Like it's a little weak to Magmortar. Because Magmortar can go mixed with a weird belly drum set. But I mean, I'm not going to go too much into the specifics of that. But that set does beat my core. Ninetales can somewhat deal with it. So anyways, that's the end of my draft. I think this team is going to do a lot of work this season. So, I mean, I understand it wasn't ranked very high in the power rankings video. I understand why this is. Mega Sharpedo was a very risky pick on my end. I picked some Enneamons, which aren't exactly flashy, but they fill specific roles which my team needed. Only reason why I drafted them. So anyways, that's my video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, please leave a like. Please subscribe to this channel. Obviously, it's a little bit new. So with that, see ya.